For this week's midweek message, I want to share some Jewish apocalyptic literature with you because it just feels like we're in an apocalyptic dystopian moment. This is a popular genre today. Movies are often made in this dystopian time periods where everything's changed, or there's the Netflix series Pandemic that just came out in January, and if you watch it now, it's kind of creepy. I don't even recommend watching it. I want to take you to some Jewish apocalyptic literature in the Old Testament book of Ezekiel, chapter 37. Ezekiel the prophet has this crazy experience that he records of being in a valley of bones. It doesn't get more dystopian than that. He's in this valley of dry, dead bones. And so the story begins like this. Ezekiel chapter 37 verse 1 says, "The hand of the Lord was on me." This is what Ezekiel is saying. "The hand of the Lord was on me, and he brought me out by the Spirit of the Lord, and he set me in the middle of a valley, and it was full of bones." I just love that God's put him in this valley full of bones, this creepy place. I mean, I'd be like, God, are you serious right now? You're putting me in a valley of dead bones. When the sun goes down, I'm going to be freaking out. And he continues, and he said, "He led me back and forth among them, and I saw a great many bones on the floor of the valley, bones that were dry bones. And he said to me, 'Son of man, can these bones live? Can these bones live?'" And I think we're in this moment of dry bones, and we're wondering, can these bones live? Is there a future beyond this? What does that future look like? And then in our lives, it kind of feels in some ways like we're drying up. My social life has dried up. My entertainment's dried up. My recreation's dried up. But my heart's maybe dried up a little bit. Where are the dry places in your life? Where are the dry bones? What are the things that are drying up right now? And you're wondering, can these dry places ever rise again? And so Ezekiel's asked a very interesting conversation by God. Ezekiel, do you believe that these dry bones can live? And now God's using all this as a metaphor for Israel, for the people of God, because they've rebelled against God, they've disobeyed God, and they're essentially a field of dry bones. And so often this is what happens in our life. God has these beautiful plans for us, but we disobey, we rebel, and we become a valley of dry bones. But God always has a plan B. God is always in the business of restoring the dry bones. And so God asks Ezekiel this question, and Ezekiel responds. And he says, "Sovereign Lord, you alone know. I don't know if the dry bones can come to life, but you know." And then he said to me, verse 4, "Prophesy to the bones and say to them, 'Dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says to the bones. I will come and make breath enter you, and you will come to life. I will attach tendons to you and make skin come upon you and cover you with skin. I will put breath in you, that you will come to life, and then you will know that I am the Lord.'" We're in the second week after Easter. This is a season where we remember that Christ is risen, that God is in the business of making dead things come to life, and we should be looking in our world for the little risings, for the little resurrections, for the ways that God is bringing death to life. Today's Earth Day. We should be looking for the ways that God is bringing death to life, even in our world, in our earth, and all of creation. God brings death to life. So he tells Ezekiel, "Prophesy to the bones that life's going to come." And continues, Ezekiel says, "So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I was prophesying, there was a noise, a rattling sound, and the bones came together bone to bone." I mean, this is scary stuff, the bones. Dead bones are coming alive. "And I looked, and the tendons and flesh appeared on them, and the skin covered them, but there was no breath in them." They were looking again like human beings, but there was no breath. Remember, in the Genesis account, God creates the first man, Adam, but he doesn't come alive until God breathes the breath of life into him, his spirit into him. In the Hebrew scriptures, breath and wind and spirit, they're all kind of like the same idea, the same word. And so then he said to me, prophesy to the breath, and prophesy, son of man, and say to it, this is what the sovereign Lord says, come breath from the four winds, and breathe into these slain, that they may live. And so I prophesied as he commanded. And breath entered them, and they came to life, and they stood up on their feet, a vast army. And then he said to me, son of man, these bones are the people of Israel. They say, our bones are dried up, and our hope is gone, and we are cut off. Therefore prophesy and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says, my people are going to open your graves and bring you up from them, and I will bring you back to the land of Israel. And then you, my people, will know that I am the Lord when I open your graves and bring you up from them. I will put my spirit in you, and you will live. And I will settle you in your own land, and then you will know that I, the Lord, have spoken, and that I have done it, declares the Lord. I love this story of these dead, dry bones come to life, that God breathes his breath, his spirit, and Ezekiel has faith that God could bring dead things to life. So what does this mean for us? On April 22nd, 2020. Well, what it means is, let's breathe some winds of hope into this world. Let's cry out for God to breathe his breath into this world. We need the Spirit of God to blow and bring dead things to life. See, God knows the future. And he knows when we'll be together in the flesh again, and as he blows into the dead places of your life, as he breathes on you, he brings flesh back to the dead places in our lives and in our world. My hope is that when we can gather together in the flesh again, that we will be more alive than ever before. That we'll be more full of faith than ever before. We'll be more full of hope than ever before, because we'll have been in a dry bones moment, and we'll have seen God breathe his breath of life and bring the dead back to life, just as Jesus experienced in the resurrection. And when we see all this happen, when we see God move, when we see him breathe his breath, the response for us, just as the response is here at the end of Ezekiel 37:14, is that we'll know that the Lord has done it, that he's spoken, that he's real. Hey friends, let's breathe some breath of hope in this world. Let's prophesy breath and spirit, the Ruach of God, so that the Spirit of God, the knowledge of God, the presence of God would cover the earth as the waters cover the sea. That we know that we are not alone, but the Lord is with us in our dry bones moment. God bless.